Hi, and thank you for joining me at Slimming Grace Academy. I'm Danny Owens, family nurse practitioner, and I want to start by telling you why I do this work and why Slimming Grace Academy even exists in the first place. 'Cause I didn't create these courses because I thought providers needed more education. I created them because I've lived through what happens when you try to do the right thing in a system that never fully teaches you how to protect yourself. I have faced board scrutiny, DEA scrutiny, and I have experienced what it feels like to be targeted, not because of patient harm, but because of competition, jealousy, and people who knew how to use complaints as weapons. And I can tell you with this absolute certainty that nothing prepares you for that moment. You can be ethical, you can care deeply about your patients, you can try to follow every rule that you were ever taught, and you'll still find yourself suddenly questioned, investigated, and forced to defend your license, your reputation, and your livelihood. And that experience changes you. It forces you to learn things that no one ever taught you in school. It forces you to understand how boards actually think, how investigations actually work, and how documentation is actually interpreted, and how vulnerable providers really are when these systems are incomplete and assumptions are made. And once you've been through that, like me, you see the profession differently. And I don't want other providers to end up in the same position I was. I was confused, blindsided, and trying to piece together rules after the fact. I don't want nurses, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, or clinic owners learning these lessons when the stakes are already high. And I want you to have the information before you need it. I want you to understand how to protect your license before someone questions it. And I want you to know how to build systems that hold up when scrutiny comes, not scramble when it's already here. So that's why I teach this. And that's why I speak openly about board investigations, DEA scrutiny, toxic competition, and regulatory reality. And this is why I built Clinic Under Fire. Because far too many providers are going by the book, and no one ever gave us a book. So my goal is simple, to make sure that you never have to learn the hard way. So let's talk about Clinic Under Fire. If you're a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, or a provider working in or even running a clinic, then this message is for you. Because today we're going to talk about something that almost no one prepares you for, something that most providers only learn after damage has already been done, and something that can quietly threaten your license, your livelihood, and your sense of safety in this profession. And it comes down to one sentence that I hear over and over and over again from good, ethical providers. We try to go by the book, but no one ever gave us the book. So most providers don't wake up intending to do wrong things. They're not reckless. They're not unethical. They are not trying to cut corners or push boundaries for profit. They care deeply about their patients. They care about their license and their reputations. They're trying to do the right thing with the information that they were given. But the problem is the information you were given was incomplete. Nursing school taught you how to pass exams, assess patients, and think clinically. It did not teach you how to build legally defensible systems inside of a clinic. It did not teach you how to document and how to interpret it during the investigation. It also didn't teach you how staff behavior becomes provider liability. And it certainly didn't teach you about how boards actually investigate cases. Employers rarely fill those gaps. Many clinic owners are learning as they go, and many supervising or collaborating physicians assume someone has handled this compliance. So many providers inherit the systems that already exist and are told, well, this is how we do it here. And the Board of Nursing never hands you a clear step-by-step rulebook that says, if you do these exact things, you'll be protected. Instead, you're given vague instructions like chart appropriately, follow protocol, practice within scope, or maintain professional standards. So those phrases sound reassuring until the moment an investigator starts reading your chart. And at that point, everything changes. Because most board cases don't begin with malpractice. They begin quietly. They begin with the documentation gaps. They begin with verbal protocols that were never written down. They begin with staff members taking shortcuts. They also begin with well-meaning providers that were trusting advice that was never legally vetted. They begin with assumptions like, well, everyone does it this way, or this has never been a problem before. But when a complaint is filed, none of that matters. The board does not care that you were never trained. They do not care that you were doing your best. And they don't care that you were following what someone else taught you. They do not care that you didn't mean harm. They just care about what exists on paper. They care about what you can prove. They care about whether your documentation, policies, and systems align with regulatory expectations. And this is where so many good providers get blindsided. So, Slim and Grace Academy exists because providers deserve education that actually reflects this reality, not surface level CEUs, not recycled compliance slides, and not theory that sounds good but fails under scrutiny. Providers deserve real world, clinic tested, investigator level education that explains how things work when everything else is on the line. So, education that answers questions like, what does the board actually look for during an investigation? What documentation holds up under scrutiny, and what quietly destroys your defense? What policies protect you as a provider rather than shifting risk onto you? And how staff errors become your responsibility, even when you weren't present? And how do you protect yourself when competition becomes toxic and complaints are used as weapons? So that's exactly why I created Clinic Under Fire. This course was built for providers who are tired of guessing, providers who are tired of assuming that they are safe because they have never had a problem with it before, providers who want clarity instead of fear, structure instead of chaos, and protection instead of hope. So Clinic Under Fire is not about scaring providers. It's about empowering them. So inside the course, we walk you through the most common mistakes that trigger investigations, not in theory, but in practice. We break down how incomplete documentation can sink otherwise excellent providers. We explain how staff actions, even small ones, become provider liability. We show you how to create board-ready documentation, policies, and protocols that actually protect you. Then we talk about how to respond if investigators contact you and what not to say. And we address the reality of toxic competition and how to protect yourself when complaints are not about patient safety at all. This is the course that I wish existed before so many clinics were caught off guard. It is the course that I wish providers had access to before learning these lessons the hard way. And here's the truth that most providers realize when it's too late. You can be ethical, you can care deeply, and you can follow what you believe are the rules, but you can still be vulnerable. Not because you're a bad provider, but because no one ever gave you that book. Well, Clinic Under Fire is that book. It is designed for nurse practitioners running clinics, RNs working in aesthetics, weight loss, or specialty care, physician assistants who want legal awareness, and clinic owners who are tired of guessing, and providers who want to sleep at night knowing that they are protected. And if you're done learning the hard way, if you're tired of relying on assumptions, and if you want systems that protect your license rather than leaving it exposed, I invite you to visit Slim and Grace Academy. Because trying to go by the book is no longer enough. You deserve to actually have the book. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your license seriously. And remember, education is power, but the right education is protection.